Welcome everyone to this edition of our Biz for Biz webcast. We're absolutely delighted to welcome Hayley Starr, who is the manager of the Herts Domestic Abuse Helpline, or Hertfordshire Domestic Abuse Helpline. The helpline is a confidential, free support and signposting service for anyone affected by domestic abuse. Their mission is to end domestic abuse through awareness and education and support being the key word here. We are here today to talk about the service, and delighted that Hayley is here to talk about how this affects business and what businesses can do. And we will cover a number of other areas and how the helpline works. So again, Hayley, welcome to this webcast podcast. I hope I've given you a decent introduction, but please introduce yourself and fill in any gaps.
No, that's been a brilliant introduction, Ian. Thank you. So I'm Hayley. I manage the Hertfordshire Domestic Abuse Helpline. The helpline's been running since 2002 and it became a registered charity in 2011. And it was set up by an ex-police officer who noticed sort of a gap with victims and survivors who didn't want to go to the police or didn't feel they needed to go to the police for their relationship troubles. And so the helpline was set up. As you've already mentioned, it is free. It's a confidential service and it's open to anybody affected by domestic abuse. That's victims, survivors, friends, family members, professionals, and even people who are sort of unsure about their own behaviours and want to make the first steps to making a change. We are a small but impactful team. So I lead operations. I have an administrator who helps me. And we have a team of volunteer call takers who pick up the phones. I think at the moment we have around 35 volunteer call takers who give their time to support others. And we take approximately 2,000 calls per year. We have emails on top of that. We get anything between sort of 20 to 30 emails a month. And that number continues to rise as awareness increases.
Thanks, Hayley. That's quite a number to think about, and I know, as we all do, watching the news and all other aspects, that the cases of domestic abuse are on the rise. Whether we like it or not, it's just a fact of life, unfortunately. But clearly, there's an impact on business here. So, can you talk us through the financial impact on business? And maybe some of our listeners don't actually sort of correlate between domestic abuse and the impact on their business.
Absolutely. So we know domestic abuse isn't just a home issue. It really does impact the workplace. The economic cost of domestic abuse in England and Wales is estimated at 66 billion annually. So what does that mean? So 50% of victims are targeted at work. How? Constant phone calls, unwanted visits, control and intimidation. And what might this do for the workplace? Well, it will mean loss of productivity. It will mean that your employees may not be turning up to work. So businesses often lose valuable employees who are trying to manage their trauma and the abuse without any support at all. Staff turnover. If you're losing employees, you're then having to recruit, and that's taking up valuable time and sometimes money as well. Workplace disruption. There can be, and we have seen on the phones, instances where employers will call us and say, this has just happened at work. We were completely unaware. What do we do? It's actually shaken up our whole office. So workplace disruption is a really sort of key thing there. 68% suffer from depression. So that's 68% of people that are have experienced domestic abuse in the past or are currently experiencing domestic abuse. And that's a huge mental health impact that employers often miss. Another another links that we found, I'd say recently, menopausal women or those with other health challenges like eating disorders or ADHD, they can become even more vulnerable if they're experiencing domestic abuse as well. So, you know, even as professionals or people that work within the field, we're only just sort of pulling together the links between domestic abuse and menopause, or domestic abuse and those who have been diagnosed or undiagnosed with ADHD. So it's really important that people are aware of the links as well.
I think, you know, it's really interesting fact, isn't it? Because we talk about mental health in quite a big umbrella. And, you know, whenever you hear a lot more about mental health issues, but, you know, it's interesting to hear you talk about the issues that could underlie a mental health situation. Clearly, there's a cause and effect of something. And it's interesting that domestic abuse is probably one of the major contributors to that as we go along. So, you know, for businesses listening to us now, and you've touched on a little bit of this, what are the sort of signs that an employer can see in employees and help sort of try to help them?
Okay, so firstly, as an employer, we don't expect you to sort of have all of the answers or be able to fix problems. But I think it's really important as a business to be trained to recognise the red flags. And that doesn't mean every single person within your organisation, but it might mean having a designated lead. We run lunch and learn sessions. So we do 1 hour Zoom sessions online, and Herts County Council also run a J9 initiative, which is another online session. Is for the community, but it's great to get businesses involved. Increased sick days or lateness. So these are some of the red flags. Is this person making excuses or opting out of events or awards? Can they not do anything sort of outside of those sort of working hours? These are the things we're looking out for. A drop in performance or focus. Seeming anxious, withdrawn, or walking on eggshells. Is your employer, are they a little bit more jumpy than usual? Are they, you know, taking time off, or in their lunch breaks going to have a snooze in the car? We can look at this and think, that's a little bit odd, or that behaviour is sort of not normal for them. But understanding the reasons why is so important to helping somebody through a domestic abuse situation. Is their partner frequently showing up or calling during work? Has your, you know, the person sat next to you, if they put their phone on silent because they're getting constant calls? We all know that people can sort of, you know, I'm working, I'm in work mode, I'm putting my phone on silent, and that's normal for them. But it's these sort of like changes in behaviour that we're looking out for. And these signs can overlap with, like I say, like with other life stresses, like menopause, other mental health issues. This is really why that open communication is key. Like I say, managers, we don't need to have all the answers. You just need to notice and then be able to signpost. Create a culture where staff feel safe saying that they need help.
Yeah, no, thanks, Heidi. I think that then brings me on to my next sort of question is, you know, what business needs are practical steps to take. So what can a business do to improve awareness and support? You've already touched on a champion or point of contact. Yeah, we see this a lot in business where you have a champion for you know, carbon emissions and ESG and all of that. And you know, this is no different to have someone who's prepared to do that. So perhaps expand on that.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I'm a mental health lead, so I'm a mental health first aider. So we should have the equivalent to that when it comes to, solely domestic abuse.
Mm.
And for anybody listening, if you're an employer, or HR, I'd encourage you to tick these boxes sort of as I go along to see what you could improve on, or what you might need to do next. So appointing a DA workplace champion, or just a safeguarding lead, or making sure that HR communicate to the business that they are trained in domestic abuse and spotting the signs, including DA in HR policies.
Yeah.
Many don't. It's talking a lot about mental health, but domestic abuse isn't within those policies. Offer training or awareness sessions to the team. Even 1 hour with us on Zoom can change the culture slightly. Display posters or QR codes discreetly, so within the workplace, in bathrooms or shared spaces. What this does is not only allows a victim survivor or a friend or family member to know, there is support out there, but it also allows them to understand that you are a workplace that cares, and you are a workplace that recognizes that this happens. And creating flexible policies around time off and safety planning as well. Women's Aid have a brilliant toolkit on their website, actually, about, if somebody's planning to leave. If somebody's planning to leave a relationship, that can be often when it's, it escalates and it moves from sort of medium risk to high risk. So helping, if somebody's disclosed to you that this is what's happening, or this is what they're going through, having sort of that safety plan there so you know where they're at, and you can sort of support a victim through their journey.
Yeah, no, thanks, Hayley. I think starting just at this point, when you're talking, and it's key to point out that it's not just women, is it?
Absolutely. We have male callers month in, month out, and there are definitely extra barriers when it comes to men disclosing abuse. But it absolutely, I always say, DA has no face. It can happen to anyone.
No, great. So, as the helpline is there, it's been set up for many years now. So, can you just sort of go over some of the areas that the helpline can support with?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, we're a confidential phone line, and our number is 08 088 088 088.
Which is right behind you.
Yeah, but we do know that not everybody feels confident to pick up a phone. So you can also email us, and our email support is kim@mailpurple.org. We take the signposting part off of your hands. So we have a wide signposting network, and we'll find the right services to help that person, the person that we're speaking to. So the support part is sort of where you guys come in, and then we can further support and do the signposting, because it can take time. We often have calls that last, an hour to two. Advice for friends. So we offer advice for friends, employers, or anyone concerned, not just the victim. So we won't put down the phone or, not speak to somebody. If you want to call on their behalf, you absolutely can. We are based in Hertfordshire, but we also refer to the national helpline when needed, and we do a lot of cross-border work. So we have links in Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Essex, North London too. Our website has resources and info on it, and we have a newsletter to keep everybody informed. And so we're not just a phone service, we're a listening ear, we're an advocate, a bridge, as well as an educational platform.
Great, thanks, Hayley. So you will see behind Hayley the phone number. If you just move to one side, we'll be able to see the number there. You can jot that down. But equally, that email address, Kim, is KIM @mailpurple.org. One of the other things that has been in the news quite a bit of late, and I think it's something that the government are constantly looking at, is violence against women and girls. Perhaps just a little word or two or three on VORG, as it's known, and 16 days of activism.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's really important that we widen the lens to talk about violence against women and girls, or VORG. I must admit, I hadn't really even heard much about it in the news before the Sarah Everard case. And sort of after that, it seems to be at the forefront week in, week out, unfortunately. Domestic abuse is a core part, but VORG also includes sort of non-relational harassment, intimidation, stalking, sexual violence, all of which can spill into the workplace too. It's about, again, creating a safe, informed workplace, and that is part of the solution. So we often focus on a solution or the appropriate cause of action, but businesses can be allies in prevention, not just reaction, so long as they have the tools. And one great opportunity is to engage. You mentioned the 16 days. In the 16 days of activism, that is an international campaign, and it runs every 25th of November to the 10th of December. And the aim is to raise awareness and to eliminate gender-based violence. Businesses can get involved by hosting awareness days or lunch and learns during this time. You can support the helpline through voluntary hours or fundraisers. And what that will do is that will enable us to keep our lines free to the caller for as long as possible. Sharing our materials, our newsletter, or just being part of the conversation. So these small actions send a clear message to your employees and to the community. Abuse has no place in your workplace and support is available.
That's great, Hayley. Thanks very much. And it's important to say that, you know, the helpline, it doesn't get any government funding or local authority funding. It is purely survives on charitable donations and, you know, benefactors, if you like, throughout the time it has, which is really good. But that's a constant request, isn't it? You know, yes, we want volunteers to help the helpline, but equally we do need to raise funds. So again, I would point out to businesses, if you are thinking of a charity of the year, then please consider the Herts Domestic Abuse Helpline. So thank you, Hayley. I think it's covering a subject that may or may not be at top of the agenda in a lot of business, but you've demonstrated that it affects the bottom line of business. And, you know, at a time when employees are the heartbeat of everything we do, we've got to stay close to that. And, you know, your oversight and obviously your ability to provide lunch and learn sessions, support for business, is another key part of what you offer, not just the helpline itself. So, and as we said earlier, it's through awareness and education that we try to help business and the employees and any victim, to be honest, throughout the region. So thank you once again. I'll bring that to a close. Thank you to our listeners for joining us today, and please look out for the next Biz for Biz Webection podcast, which will be coming soon. So thank you very much. Thank you, Hayley. It's good to have you.
Thank you.